Hi everyone, my name is Bhuvnesh and this is my second video in Upwork Mastery series for freelancers. In my last video, we talked about how your proposals get seen by clients. How do they appear on clients' dashboard? In this video, we are going to dive deep into how to write the cover letter so that you get more responses from clients and eventually you win the projects. Okay, without further ado, let's first recap what we learned in the last video. And if you want to watch it in more detail, and I would recommend watching that video before moving to this video, then you can look up into the link and you'll be able to access it. But let's very quickly review it. Okay, so this is the first view of the client. So in the last video, we took some key takeaways, and let me put that in front of you. Those takeaways are that you should have a nice headline. Your hourly rate gets shown here. If you have skills verified by correctly, put any skill, even one skill that you put, and it just shows here. And, subconsciously, it does affect a client. Maybe they'll not go to this, but they know that, okay, this person is certified. Then these two lines that get shown from your cover letter, which would hook a client and would want to click on it. And the most standout thing for me was these highlights. Now, when you click here, then we found out that these are the two questions. The questions come first before the cover letter. And this is the main meat where the client would read through it. And today, in today's video, we'll actually be talking about how to write such a cover letter. And I'll be actually sharing my cover letters, which have won me projects. And they have that template has repeatedly won me projects. I'll also show you how, after learning these things from these insights from the client dashboard, when I implemented into my proposals, I would show you the difference between before and after these insights. Another important thing I wanted to highlight before we move into the main video is that you would have seen that Upwork's video proposals have also are in the beta phase, and they show you. So they do really show these proposals right here. So you can try that. I have never sent a video proposal before, but you could try it because it stands out, and yeah, it may help. One thing, however, that I would discourage for people to not do is to actually ignore this rate increase thing. It actually just confuses the client because you have written $30 per hour and then you have increased it here. From freelancers' perspective, I used to think that this is important and this is super important. But apart from one of the freelancer, I have not seen anyone else do that. And which also makes sense now from client perspective that I don't want to see that here. Okay, enough about the last video. Let's move on to today's video. And this video, I'll be talking about what makes a proposal that would make clients to respond to it. All right. So very quickly, your proposals, as we learned, that the first two lines are the hook from client's dashboard that would get them to open your proposal. Then your proposal should have some questions, and I'll show you what that means and what your proposal should cover. And you need to also include some lines that why you. And then there should be a call to action. This is super important, and I've tried and tested it. And this is, I think, the most important part of your proposal, which makes the client to, go ahead and shortlist your profile and send the message to you if they really like their work things. All right. Before moving to actual proposals, I wanted to cover this. Maybe you're already aware about this, but as you saw that I said the first two lines are important. Within those first two lines, it's important that you address the client with their name, because almost the remaining freelancers would be doing that. So you want to be in the same league, at least at the start. So how do you find the name of the client? So you see the job description, you go down. If the client has a history, then there are high chances that you'll find their names in one of the testimonials or feedbacks that the freelancer has given. Okay. And sometimes if it's a totally new first time project, and if you do not find the name, it's okay, because the idea is that no other freelancer would be putting in their name, right? So let's try to see the name. No, it's not here. Okay. So I find Aaron is the name. Sometimes there are teams that, like within an organization, there are several people who are hiring on Upwork. So it can be different people. So I would like to check cross check is the name again appears. Yes, Aaron is the name. So when I'll be writing the proposal to the person, I would say, hi, Aaron, and yeah, whatever say. Okay, I'll spend a few more minutes on this part of the proposal. So when you are saying their first two lines are important, what you want to include in those two lines is something about which not only talks about the project, that also talks about you, and you also create a sense of emergency or a sense of curiosity that client wants to open those cover letters. And it really matters when, let's say, if you're applying to job posts late. So let's say there are already 20 people who have applied to a job, and now you are the one and you want to stand out. That really becomes important. If you're usually one of the first ones who apply to a job, and I would always recommend that always be in the top 5, the early 5 or early 10 to be able to apply to job, because the chances of response get higher because clients have not seen other proposals and they would reach out to you. So always be careful about that. All right. Now let me show you my proposal, and let's actually go into a few ones. All right. So this is one of the very recent project that I got and I had applied. And in this project, I took the insights from the client dashboard that we learned, and I told you what all those things were. And I applied it to this job post and several others. And it has really helped me, and you will see how. So let's quickly have a look. It's a long one. I'll just read the initial lines. I run a coaching company in Australia. I'm looking to hire a person who has specific skills and experience using Linked Helper. I have that. I have worked on projects. So that gave me confidence that, okay, I would apply. Who has existing expertise, not a person who hasn't used Linked Helper. Okay, so the client is very clear that if you have worked, then only apply. So, for example, if you have not worked on this and you have worked on Active Campaign, I would say that it's no use on applying to projects like these because, the client is very specific here. You could apply, but if you then do not expect that you would get a response. Specifically, what I would like to do is connect a link to part of my Active Campaign so that I can take existing connections and so on. So he's basically given every detail that's here. See, and it's important. Right now, I'm just reading it, for the sake of moving fast. But you really should be reading the whole job description because you're applying to a job and you really want the job. To not just rush through it that, okay, I know, and just randomly apply. You'll not get those jobs. That's very clear. And this is something which is important. If that is you, I invite you to apply and use the word podcast simply to demonstrate you've read this whole job description. Okay, so let's go. And this is my cover letter. So as you see, I have initial written podcast. So one of those first two lines, this is pretty clear. If people who have not written podcast, their proposals are not going to get opened. That's pretty clear. Now it goes, hi James, what are the chances? I created the exact flow for my client, mapping qualified LinkedIn contacts from Linked Helper to Active Campaign. Though I used Zapier to do the connection, as my client wanted several other actions before adding lead to Active Campaign, but I will create a direct integration for you. So remember this, where we were talking about first two lines. This is where that part comes in. So what I did here was, as I told you, that I want them to have some sense of curiosity or some sense of, just standing out from the other proposals is to write, what are the chances? And I do this several times, like different versions of this and my different proposals, and it worked. And it's not like I would just copy paste and put it for every other proposal. I have to read on what kind of tone or style the client was using in their job description. And based on that, you just try to reciprocate in that way. Now, within those first two lines, you also want to write that you are the right person. That's why I wrote, I created the exact flow for my client. And you could argue and say that, oh, people could lie. But that's where you just do not write that I've done the similar project. You also tell the client what you did there. And it was something different, or I did this exactly the same, but what you did. That really catches the attention that, oh, this person did something same. And let me tell you, this has worked almost always that whenever I write that I have done this similar project, I've been in the client's shoes as well. It really draws me in that, okay, this person knows they have done something similar to what I want. Let's look at it. Okay. So this here, yeah, my profile says Denmark. So I just wanted to write that I'm in New Zealand right now. Oh, so I have built 10 plus linked helper solutions in the past. And for this case, I will do the following. So this is from where, what will you do? So I clearly tell him, what will I do? What I will do is I'll add all of your LinkedIn connections in a queue, extract profiles. That's what I'll do in Linked Helper, and transfer the contacts to ActiveCampaign. I understand the project. I just told him what I'll do, and I don't need to write everything, that each and every step, but I just gave them the idea so that they know that I know what I'm talking about. So even if I would have lied here, this would just bring in more trust. Now the other part is questions. In this case, you don't want to ask questions just for the sake of it. You should really be feeling what is the question. So questions, my first question was, how much of your setup is already complete? Because in the job description, he said that much of it is already done. Then I want to know how much is done, because that's what I'll base my pricing on. Because he asked, just quote a price on your thing. And I know it can be a long-term project. So I want to quote something, so that at least I started, I show my skills, and then I can continue with the whole project. I can get the bigger chunk of it. What info you will add into ActiveCampaign, and price. I roughly estimate to take this between 2 to 3 hours, maybe shorter. I'm okay to do this. Check out my attachments and testimonials to find my expertise in ActiveCampaign and integrations. Talk to you soon. Regards, Bhuvnesh. So within this, what I've done is I've not added a very specific CTA with base to let's have a call. What I've done is I've added a CTA which is based on pricing. I've given a price that this is my price. I usually don't do it in other proposals, because in this client specifically asked this. That's why my CTA changed from, hey, let's talk for 15 minutes, or do you have time this week? Can we chat? And so on. I made it to the pricing. And yeah, I'll check out my attachments and testimonials. And you know what? I got the response and I got the project from the client. And these were profile highlights. And yeah, anyway, so this was contract that I worked with. And what else is important? Within this, I guess this became important. What I learned from the client dashboard was to include minimal of these attachments, because its user interface is not good, but rather add highlights of things I've done. So I got the response. We did a 15-minute call. And from there on, it was quite easy to convert the client. Okay, so that's it for this type. Let me show you another type of project which I had. Let's see, where is it? Yes, this is a different one. In this one, it is Pipedrive CRM automation. I'll just read it a bit for you, because the overall, there's a difference that you'll find the kind of proposal that I submitted to that client and here. And this is also pretty important, that once you make a template, you do not copy paste the same template in every other job description. You should have, let's say, 3 or 4 templates for a set of job descriptions. So for, let's say, for Pipedrive projects or Zapier projects, there is a template that I follow, and based on the customer's demands or whatever they're asking, I change that. The previous one that I showed was the one that I created right there. That was the template right there, very customized for that one. And trust me, you might think that creating templates or content from scratch takes time and we don't even get responses. Trust me, it really works. If you customize your proposals for exact need of the client, you do get responses. But if the client's job description is very general, so let me actually put this into this perspective. If client's job description is vague or not very clear, you can use a template and you can ask more questions, and there are usually a bit less chances of getting responses, because client in itself is not very clear in what they want. In cases where client is very clear in what they want, it really makes sense to write the proposal there itself, customize it, write it from scratch. Do not use a template. Maybe use a few bits and pieces of template, but write it at that point of time, and you'll get the response. Okay, moving on to this one. Okay, we are in a need of an expert to assist us in setting up HR pipeline for new recruits. We are looking for help with sales automation that will be linked to a pipeline, providing us with sales updates and improving our customer service. We require someone who is familiar with the system. We already have defined HR hiring pipeline and can provide that information. For the sales pipeline, we will need an expertise to brainstorm. Okay, we would also like assistance in creating basic lead generation forms. For example, this tagging, incorporating AI to automate. So what I see is that I do not look at just this because this is as such not a big thing, $2 for a project. What I see here is within a job description is the scope. Like there's a big scope that like you can't do this all for $250. That's for sure. What I understand is that there is a long-term sense in this project, and I should be putting in my effort to write a very nice proposal, which is very much customized to what their needs are. Okay. So we go down. I just match the milestone with them, and here it goes. Hello, Kirsten. I recently completed similar pipe drive implementation for a California-based client. Now, in this case, again, we're talking about, I got the name. Okay. I got the first two lines. We're talking about the first two lines. So similarity that, hey, I have already done this before, and that's true as well. What I did was I wrote a California-based client because the client was based there. And I wanted to give a sense of the US that I work for a US client. I work clients across the globe. And you should use this if you're writing for Australia. If you work for a client in Australia, do write the city's name or state's name, and it really works. Now, add the curiosity here. What I'm doing, I'm not justifying that, what I did in Pipedrive because the scope was huge. What I'm doing here is that I request your 30 seconds on this proposal and you will want to talk. And trust me, I've used this line several times based on different scenarios. And in this case, I was also applying, I think I was applying after around 15 proposals were already submitted. So yeah, this makes me catch the attention that I request you 30 seconds on this proposal. I'm not asking you 1 minute. I'm not asking for any commitment. Just get your 30 seconds and you will want to talk. And then because what I've written inside it, I'm sure that if they really read, they would really want to talk, and I'll show you what I've done. So I'm writing a few ideas on what we can do on sales automation and ticketing system. So decide whether to keep inquiry lead and lead module or directly create deals for each inquiry. So industry best practices, or what I'm doing here is not only suggesting it, but also giving them the tip that industry practices to keep them in lead and move them to deal if they show interest. Because from job description, I could get that client really wants that kind of consultation, that kind of insight. And just to show that in your job description just solidifies your call with them. I also put a bonus because they talked about AI. So how about integrating automated AI voice caller that qualifies all the inquiry leads to decide whether they should be added to deal? They did not talk about that they want this system. But what I'm doing is that I've developed this system. I am using what they want and giving it as a bonus. As soon as lead enters Pipedrive, send them a welcome acknowledgement email. Based on email opened or not, we can send them this. So till now, what we are doing is we are following the first two lines thing. Questions will come later. What will you do? So I have written, what will I do? This, bonus. And where were we? Yeah, assign activity. So it's all going on what I'll do. And as you can see, this is longer because, yeah, I definitely saw a potential in the client that I could get a call for ticketing. If you want to use Pipedrive for it, we can do this. You can see Zapier, we could do this. Now, I didn't ask any questions in this, and you could always choose to ask. Depends on you whether the question should be relevant. You should not ask a question for the sake of it, because remember, even your call to action is kind of a question that, hey, 15 minutes intro call. So you don't want to put several many questions and, divide their attention where it is going. Now comes why me? I have set up several marketing and automation systems in Pipedrive for my clients in the past. All projects 5-star. I have 8+ years of experience in business strategy and marketing automation. I just told about myself, and rest time depending on the screenshots and on the highlights. Let's read here. I've attached highlights, relevant projects, and all these things. Regards. And you know what? I got a call with the client and we were able to seal the deal. We were able to do that. So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions or anything, if you're liking the video till now, give it a thumbs up. And I would really love your comments on anything here, or if you have any suggestions or any of your best practices, that would be great. I will now show you another template where I'll not go deep. I just want to just quickly show you what it looks like. So yeah, this was also the one which I created instantly. So in this case, the client wanted to get coached and they wanted live Upwork calls, and I would just be a coach and showing them. So this was a very new kind of a project for me. So I didn't have their name. This was kind of their first project. So I worked on a similar project where the leads forms triggered. So again, what I'm doing in first two lines, I'm showing that similarity that I worked. And in this case, I don't want to do the 30 seconds thing, maybe because it was not required or I was one of the early ones. So what I did was that to add a subscriber into MailChimp. So I showed that I have done this similar thing, what you wanted, and what I have done, I've shown here. Now, in this, a lot of question made sense. Is your MailChimp already configured? Do you want other actions in Zapier? Because it was not clear from their job description. Are you open to ideas on creating effective email campaigns and so on? I'm the right fit for this job and happy to work on the whole project on the call. Oh yes, I'm currently based because this was Australia client, so important to mention. And yes, can we hop on an intro call? As you see, my CTA keeps on changing. It's not always 15-minute call. I just decided on the go how I want to do. And then the question. Now in this question, if you'll see, I'll also show you another proposal, which was like a year back. I got that project, but I used to write like long answers to these questions. And from my last video, which I showed you, that these questions appear first, so just make them crisp because you want the client to go to your cover letter and not get overwhelmed with all this. So 2 projects, Facebook lead forms, website form leads, very simple. Within that, got the call and converted the meeting. Now, yeah, I think these are the 4 ones. Show another one. Okay, so I think this is the one that I used to use before. And this is how it goes. These were the ones when I used to use these 2 lines formula as more of, trying to please the client, trying to appreciate the client. I had heard this from one of the YouTube videos that you emphasize that the client is doing good. And, I saw remarkable alignment, and this worked for me for a while, but then I realized that it works for me sometimes and not always, because as you see, I saw remarkable alignment within job requirements and this, and yeah, if the client is interested, they will click. But I can't make sure from this that they'll always click. And within this, why me? I have written this like in quite detail what I've done, and this is very interesting. But it does not really have that essence on the client, what they want to, do with that. So we already have this. So I could have written, and what I want to show you is that I have evolved with time. You evolve with this. You keep writing this, you keep doing these A/B tests with your proposals, write them, and you would know what is working. And what is working today will not work 2 months from now. That's pretty clear. My templates keep on changing every 2 months or so. I keep trying new lines, but the structure for this always remains the same. All right. Is there anything else that I would like to show you? Yeah, I guess this is again the one from last year. Why me? About me? Next steps. So if you see, my next steps used to be long lines. Now I just keep it very short. One important thing which I want to tell, which I should have said at the start, is that it does not give you a lot of customization options. You can't make these bold, this is just a text layer that you see. So it's better for you to arrange your cover letter, format your cover letter in a way where you have clear headings. And you would have seen my previous, all the proposals, I had this heading. It is just not like a long paragraph with spaces that you see. You see that, okay, this is this section, this is this section. And I also use these as the ones to differentiate that this was the main part and this is the end of the letter. So do use these things, and this would be, I'm sure this would be helpful. So I guess, and I hope this video was helpful. I have, along with these proposal templates, I have several more templates from some other freelancers that I can share with you. You can go to the description and you'll find a link and you can download these templates. and yeah, start using it. And I wish you the best. And I'm sure if you use the techniques and the advices that I've given in this video, you'll definitely get a lot of clients. All right. Have a good day and see you until the next video.